This video is about judging double taps in open court clearances. If the ball being cleared was initially closer than about 100 millimeters from the striker's ball, it is very difficult to tell if a double tap occurred from what you see and hear as the stroke is played. Fortunately, there is a reliable way of detecting a double tap using the finishing positions of the balls, that is, by using the angle of separation and the distance ratio. The angle of separation is the angle between the finishing positions of the balls measured from where the balls collided, and the distance ratio is the distance the other ball travelled divided by the distance the striker's ball travelled. If the angle of separation is 45 degrees or less, call it a double tap unless the distance ratio is 8 or more. If the angle is over 45 degrees but 60 degrees or less, call it a double tap unless the distance ratio is 5 or more. If the angle is over 60 degrees, do not call it a double tap regardless of the distance ratio. In the diagram, the blue circle represents the finishing position of the ball that was cleared. If the striker's ball travelled only a small distance relative to the other ball or at a large angle, as indicated by the green area in the diagram, it was probably not a double tap. Here is an open court clearance. This photo shows the initial positions of the balls and the line of swing of the mallet. We usually do not need an accurate estimate of the angle of separation. In this case, the angle was clearly less than 45 degrees. So a distance ratio of at least 8 to 1 is required to call the stroke clean. Without even measuring the distance, the ratio is clearly not big enough, and we can confidently call it a double tap. If we did feel the need to measure the distances, we could pace it out like this. For it to be called clean, the other ball would have had to travel 24 paces or more, that is 8 times 3, so there would be absolutely no need to pace out the path of the other ball in this case. For the sake of this video, we did measure the angle and distances, and this is where the striker's ball would fit into the diagram you saw before, where the pink area indicated a double tap had occurred. The striker's ball in this case finished in the middle of that area, so the angle and ratio method said it was a double tap. And slow motion video showed that indeed it was a double tap. Strokes 2 and 3 are stop shot attempts. In both cases, the angles of separation were much less than 45 degrees. In fact, they were close to 0. Without doing any pacing, it was obvious that the distance ratio for the first stop shot attempt was well over 8 to 1, and for the other it was well under. So there's no doubt that stroke 2 was clean, and this was confirmed by the slow motion video. And there was also no doubt that stroke 3 was a double tap, as confirmed by the slow motion video. Here is a scatter shot. A scatter shot will have a small distance ratio even if it is clean, because the striker's ball will go quite far. That's why it's called a scatter shot. If the scatter shot was played without a double tap, the angle of separation will be over 60 degrees. With a double tap, it will nearly always be under 60 degrees. If it's over 60 degrees, it will often be easy to tell without measuring the angle. Here are a couple of things you can do if you have to judge a stroke like this one, with a small distance ratio where it's not obvious whether the angle of separation was over 60 degrees. Firstly, with the aid of a mallet, you can quickly and accurately find the line at right angles to the path of the other ball. Then try to decide if the angle between that line and the striker's ball is less than 30 degrees. It is easy to estimate a smaller angle. Secondly, use an angle measuring device like this. It's like a protractor with arms. I always carry one with me when refereeing. Most days it is not needed, but it's handy to have it just in case. The angle and ratio method will get you the right decision most of the time. Here are the results of more than 300 strokes filmed in slow motion. The angle and ratio method gave the right decision for 97% of the strokes. That's an error rate of only 3%. A referee judging the same set of strokes without using the angle and ratio method would probably make 5 times as many mistakes. That's an error rate of 15%. There are times when the angle and ratio method should not be used, such as if the striker's ball is airborne as it hits the other ball, if one of the balls hits another object such as a hoop, a peg, another ball or a person, or if the initial separation was large enough for the striker's ball to pick up considerable roll.